Hello, I'm Drew, and I'm excited to introduce PathChat 2a, a new pathology workflow assistant from Modela. PathChat 2a extends the power of PathChat to include agentic capabilities to operate horizontally across a pathologist's workflow, operating as a co-pilot by triaging cases, automatically ordering IHC, suggesting differential diagnoses, and more. To demonstrate the power of PathChat 2a, I'll be taking a look at a couple cases in my queue here. I'll start by asking PathChat 2a to screen all cases in my queue using this prompt at the top. It will screen each case in my queue and move cases with findings to the top. Each case is classified as suspicious or normal, and for cases where IHC would be helpful, PathChat 2a has ordered the most useful IHCs as a first round up front. Let's take a look at this case here, case 31, to start. This is a thyroidectomy and lymph node resection from a patient with a thyroid mass identified by their primary care physician. When I click to open the case, I see that the agent has already screened every slide in the case and prioritized them by finding. It looks like carcinoma was only identified in one of the 14 slides associated with this case. 10 slides in Part A, the thyroidectomy, and 4 slides, and 1 slide each in Parts B through E, which is the lymph node resection. Already you can see that I can sign out this case much quicker than before, since I only have to review less than 10% of the slides in this case to effectively sign it out. I can look at Part A9 here, the part with carcinoma, and I do see some kind of abnormality here on the leftmost piece. Let's open the PathChat Copilot interface to get a better sense of the case. I'll start by asking a question at the slide level here, because the PathChat Copilot interface can answer prompts at the slide level, the case level, and the region of interest level. Starting at the slide level, I'll just ask for a microscopic description. Okay, great. So it sounds like there's something abnormal on this slide, probably that area that we identified before. Let's take a closer look. This definitely looks abnormal to me. Sounds like PathChat thinks it might be a papillary thyroid carcinoma. Let's look at some regions of interest here and see if we can get a more detailed look at this. Do one on a little bit higher power and then one at much higher power to really show off those nuclear features. All right, sounds like PathChat is very common. This is a papillary thyroid carcinoma, and I think I agree. Now we know that PathChat can also integrate its findings over the entire case, not just the single slide. Great, we've got our diagnosis. Let's go back and take a look at my queue again. Now at this button I can see that PathChat has already generated a report based on the findings from the slides, pulling in information not just from the slides but also from the gross description as well. And just like that, all that's left to do is to sign out the case, and I had to look at less than 10% of the slides here. Now let's take a look at this case. Case 032. This is a lymph node resection due to abdominal lymphadenopathy that was identified incidentally after this patient was in a motor vehicle accident. In this case, PathChat, when screening the H&E, generated a differential diagnosis. It used that diagnosis to go ahead and order IHCs before I even saw the case to help me work it up faster. I can see which IHCs it ordered this way. Looks like a CD3, CD5, BCL6, so definitely some heme path things consistent with this differential diagnosis. Let's work up the case using the Copilot interface. All right, this lymph node does look a little strange to me, but I can't exactly describe why. Let me submit a few regions of interest to PathChat for backup. Maybe a lower power one like that, and a higher power one of this structure here. Okay, PathChat agrees. This is definitely an abnormal lymph node and some kind of lymphoproliferative disorder. Now, based on the IHCs that it ordered, I think there's a couple of differentials it was considering, as we saw on the previous slide, a follicular lymphoma, CLL, SLL, and maybe mantle cell lymphoma. Using this PathChat's Copilot interface, we can also interrogate these other IHCs. Let's take a look at the CD3. My memory's a little spotty about CD3. What does that stand for again? Oh yeah, of course. CD3 stains T cells, and it looks like here in the lymph node we've got quite a few T cells. All right. I can manually review all of these IHCs to see what they're positive in. Looks like we have a few, and a couple H&Es that have been screened negative. Let me ask PathChat a question at the case level here. Okay, cool. So PathChat's looked at all the IHCs that it ordered and the H&E and A11 and has come up with a diagnosis of follicular lymphoma. Based on what I've seen here and the positivity in the B cells of these different markers, I agree. Let's go back to the queue and look at the report. All right, so PathChat summarized those findings into this pathology report. Parts B and C were negative. Great, all that's left to do is sign out the case. Let's look at case 029 here. This is a subtotal colon resection from a patient with a long history of abdominal pain and iron deficiency anemia. As before, PathChat has screened each slide for abnormalities. Using the Copilot interface, let's start working this case up. Starting with slide A11, I'll ask a slide level question of PathChat. All right, Looks like PathChat's identified inflammatory infiltrate here, including lymphocytes and plasma cells. Let's take a closer look. Yeah, here's that inflammatory infiltrate, disrupting the colon. Let's take a close look and ask PathChat's advice. All right, great. So I definitely agree with PathChat's descriptions of these images. Based on the patient's history and these findings, I suspect the patient has some kind of inflammatory bowel disease, but I'm not really up to date on the different ones. Let's ask PathChat for help. Okay, cool. It sounds like transmural inflammation versus just mucosal inflammation is a big feature for me to look out for, and also keep an eye out for granulomas. Zooming back out on this case, I don't think there's transmural inflammation here. I'll just double check. Yeah, I don't really see any on either of these slides. Let me check A2. Yeah, no real transmural inflammation here that I can see. This process is a little tedious looking at all these slides like this. So let me ask PathChat for help. Okay, great. So no transmural inflammation on any of the slides or granulomas. Awesome. So I really think this is ulcerative colitis. Let's go back to the queue. And as before, PathChat's generated a report based on the findings in these cases. Let's take a look. Okay. Looks like PathChat wants to make the diagnosis of ulcerative colitis. I agree. And all that's left is to sign out the case.